Hey guys, today's video is about a fish's memory and whether they actually forget everything after 3 seconds. Spoiler alert, they don't. Imagine this, you're a goldfish, stuck in a bowl the size of a salad plate. The room's quiet except for that weird machine humming in the corner. And then, boom, the giant human shows up again, presses their face to the glass. You flinch, fins twitching, and just like yesterday, you swim behind that same fake castle. Wait, you remembered the castle, that's right. If you're a fish, the rumor that you forget everything in 3 seconds is pure slander. Real fish, yes, even the $1 feeder kind can remember things for days, sometimes even months. In fact, studies have shown goldfish can learn to navigate mazes, respond to feeding schedules, and even do tricks. Some universities even ran tests where fish push buttons for food. And guess what? They remembered which button gave the good stuff. Sure, you can't do long division and your idea of a fun day, swimming in circles, but that doesn't mean your brain's on vacation. Turns out, your memory is actually just smart enough to survive in the wild. Which is great, because otherwise you'd be a one-bite buffet for the nearest heron. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I do here. And hey, tell me where you're watching from and what time it is down there. Now, turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soothing nose, and let's watch today's video together. So there you are, still a fish, except now you're gliding through a marble fountain in ancient Rome. No, seriously. Wealthy Romans kept exotic fish in ornamental ponds, and some even named them. One guy, Lucius Licinius Murano, was known for whispering to his pet Murray eels. Yeah, the ones with the creepy smiles and enough teeth to ruin your day. You hear footsteps, sandals clacking on tile. De Villa's owner approaches, drops a few crumbs, and waits. You recognize him. You remember the sound of the footsteps, the shade he casts over the water, and bonus, you know the green crumbs taste better than the brown ones. See? Fish memory wasn't just a parlor trick back then. Chinese scholars from the Song dynasty trained code to surface at the sound of a gong. Like, ring ring, and dozens of colorful noodles start swirling toward you. That's not just cute, that's conditioning, and it requires memory. You flip your fins and dodge a leaf. Back in today's world, people still use this fish forget everything myth to justify tiny bowls and zero enrichment, but in Rome, you were pampered. You had names, you had treats, and get this, you even had funeral rites. Fish funerals, real thing. So next time someone calls you a forgetful fish, remind them your ancestors were out here vibing with emperors and getting buried with more honor than most houseplants. You're not dumb, you're historic. You bob upward toward the surface, staring at the blurry shape that leans over your tank. The same hoodie, the same clumsy attempt at a peace sign. You remember that face because you, a fish, are capable of facial recognition. No, not like a smartphone, better, actually. You don't need iOS updates. Researchers at Oxford tested archerfish, those spit-shooting show-offs that hunt bugs, by blasting them out of the air, and discovered they could tell human faces apart. They trained the fish using a screen with multiple faces. Guess what? The fish got it right more than 80% of the time. You drift past a plastic volcano, your fish brain about the size of a jelly bean has enough working memory to not only recognize patterns, but to associate them with rewards or danger. Like the green net that means trouble, or the sound of the filter shutting off, which usually means snack time. Oh, and remember the myth that fish can't feel pain. Yeah, also wrong. In fact, studies in the early 2000s found that fish brains react to noxious stimuli, and they learn to avoid it in the future. You touch something that zaps you once. You won't touch it again. Sound familiar? That's learning. One goldfish in Japan was even trained to play soccer. It knew where to push the ball to get a treat. Meanwhile, you're still trying to remember where you left your keys. So if your fish stares at you blankly, don't be offended. They probably remember you. They just think your shirt's ugly. You swerve hard, left instinct. That shadow looked familiar. You're not in a tank anymore. You're in a military training pool in 1960s Cold War America, where scientists were straight up teaching fish to detect underwater mines. Yeah, you heard right. The US Navy actually experimented with training bluegills to spot suspicious metal objects. Turns out, fish have a killer sense of smell and electric field detection, and if you reward them properly, They'll do recon better than some drones. You pause near a fake kelp forest, remembering that beep sound from earlier. It meant food last time. Now, you're not sure, but you remember it. And that's the kicker, your memory isn't about trivia, it's about survival. In World War II, a Japanese scientist trained crows to react to specific lights and colors, using bells to create behavioral responses. One crow learned to bow before being fed, bowing, as in aquatic etiquette. Fast forward, and researchers today use zebrafish in neurological research because their brains have just enough complexity to study learning, trauma, and memory, but not so much that it's chaos. One lab even used them to study PTSD-like reactions. You're getting the picture now, right? Fish brains may be small, but they're optimized, not for Shakespeare, but for patterns, danger, location, timing, color, everything that keeps you alive when you're the bottom of the food chain. So maybe you're not calculating mortgage payments, but you're not forgetting your favorite hiding spot either. And honestly, how many humans can say that during a panic attack? And now here you are, back in the lab, the lights buzz overhead. A human with a clipboard leans close to your tank, and you, being the highly underestimated genius you are, remember exactly what's coming. This is the experiment, the one that blew the 3-second memory myth out of the water. Scientists at the Technion Institute in Israel train fish to associate a sound with feeding. Simple enough, but then, after 5 months of zero contact, they played the sound again. You guessed it, the fish swam right to the spot. That's not just memory, that's long-term, emotionally linked, food-motivated recall. 5 months is longer than most gym memberships, but let's talk emotion for a second. In another experiment, fish were shown how to escape a stressful situation, like a too bright light or a mild electric current, and they remembered the escape route weeks later. That's not random flailing, that's planning, adaptation, and yes, memory. Still not convinced? In one offbeat study, goldfish were taught to fetch colored beads from the bottom of a tank and drop them into a floating hoop. They improved over days, remembered the task, and even got faster at it. Yet despite all this, someone out there still tapping on a tank, giggling, he probably forgot that in 3 seconds. You didn't, you won't, because even as a fish, you've learned more than people give you credit for. So here's to you, the swimmer, to remember, the little bean brain overachiever, not bad for something with gills. Now just relax, the water slows, the bubbles rise and fade. Softest whispers. You can almost feel the current brushing past your fins as the light dims. Maybe today you learned something surprising, maybe you'll forget, but probably not. Because just like the fish, you remember the things that matter. Even if no one believes you. End of script. Thanks for watching.